Welcome to the Own It Show. I'm Heather Lee Chapman, your holistic performance and business coach. And I'm so excited to be here with you all today. It's time to stop sacrificing your health and freedom and start scaling your results in your business and all areas of your life. Here at Own It Empire, we help entrepreneurs become high performers and increase their awareness so they can increase their impact and create profitable business online so that you can truly own it. Welcome back to the Own It Show. I'm Heather Lee Chapman, your holistic coach and host, and I'm so happy, thankful, and grateful to be here with Melissa Entzminger today. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me.
Oh, absolutely. My pleasure. And I'm super excited because today we're going to talk all about how to master your message to ignite your brand awareness and make it irresistible. So please tell us more about yourself.
Well, when you hear those really incredible speeches, the kind that just stick with you for a few days, you're still thinking about them a couple days later. I coach people to deliver those. I'm a public speaking coach and I work with entrepreneurs, executives, politicians, really anyone whose next life goal requires that they be good at public speaking. So that's public speaking, as I define it, as anyone that is when you're talking not just to yourself. So you're talking to somebody one-on-one, or you're talking to somebody in a conventional sense on a stage, maybe in front of a few people. I help people get their message out and feel comfortable with that. And what really sets me apart as a speaking coach isn't just what I do, it's that I used to be nervous when I was giving speeches, and I understand the power of overcoming those nerves and giving memorable speeches. When I work with clients, I aim at not just overcoming the nerves, but taking the overwhelm of speech writing out and delivering a memorable presentation.
I love that. And we were talking before, like how important this is. I was saying, I still remember my first long public speaking opportunity that we had to do in one of our classes, and my legs literally vibrated. I don't even know how they held me up. And I was sweating so much that I had to tell myself, like, you can't wear long sleeve. You have to wear a different color. And we know how important that speaking is to put yourself out there, to build your brand, to build that brand awareness. And unless we have that confidence to put ourselves out there and a clear message that is in alignment with our branding, we limit ourselves with who we can serve and who we can connect with. So I'm super excited to have you on the show today to help everybody else become better at public speaking, to have a clear message, and to be able to put it out there to increase their brand awareness so they can increase their service and, of course, their income and their impact. And
Yes, of course.
yeah, and we've got some special tips for you today. Melissa's going to share some tips on her zone of genius, and I will pop in my 2 cents, of course. But I'll let you take it away and give us your first tip.
Yeah, so my journey kind of started back when I was a freshman in high school. The story that you tell, Heather, is a similar story that I have, a similar story that a lot of clients I work with have. And ultimately, when you change your mentality, that is what is the key to helping you overcome some of those nerves. So when I was a freshman in high school, I thought I wanted to be an attorney. And a family friend that we had said, if you want to be an attorney, you need to be good at public speaking. Why don't you join this competitive speech and debate program and get better at public speaking? Well, the thought of giving a speech made me want to be sick, but I really wanted to be an attorney. And so I was like, okay, this is what it takes. This is what I'm going to do. And I can vividly remember my very first speech. It was an impromptu speech, and I was supposed to prepare for 2 minutes and speak for five. Instead, I prepared for 15 minutes and spoke for about 30 seconds. And there were more ums and uhs than actual words. The butterflies were not flying in formation. My face was flushed. My palms were sweaty. It was not a speech for the record books, let me tell you. And even though it was not a great experience, I wanted to be a good attorney. And so I worked with my coaches and They taught me how to help get over those nerves. And I learned how to put together a good speech, how to put a compelling message together that the audience wants to listen to. And I'm going to tell you a little secret that nobody tells you about impromptu speaking. Impromptu speaking is not really impromptu speaking. Similar to improv, it's not just something they came up with off the top of their head. It is actually well rehearsed speaking. You think about possible questions you might be asked and you practice what those answers might be. And then the art of it is to be able to tailor those answers to the questions that you're asked. Now, some people do this better than others. Politicians, maybe when they answer the question that they wanted you to ask instead of the one that you actually asked. But when it's done effectively, it's like an Olympic athlete. It looks like you just rolled out of bed and scaled that hurdle like there's, you put no effort into it. It's just an effortless thing that you do. And when you practice those different scenarios and you put in the time and you put in the reps, you start to get better at it. I remember my mom would tell me, it's time to come down for dinner. You have got to stop practicing for the night. And I would say, just 5 more minutes, Mom. I'm almost done with this one part. And I started to notice that things started to change. I started implementing those things that my coaches were teaching me. My thought process about giving speeches started to change. Instead of the boogeyman in my brain telling me, this is a scary thing, you don't really want to do this, I started to be excited about sharing my message with my audience and focusing more on them than on my feelings. Those are the same techniques that I coach my clients with to this day. They're the same techniques that I use to go from a very nervous speaker to eventually a national award-winning speaker who has coached clients to also win national speaking awards. And I tell you, watching clients step into their power and share their message is frankly life-changing. The sky's the limit when you can speak. And so having this as my background, I worked in corporate and had been working with people in the community on the side. Word of mouth, I'd meet somebody and I'd work with them, and then they'd tell somebody else that they had worked with me, and gradually helped clients here and there. And it wasn't until COVID hit that I was like, who knows what's going on in the world? Maybe you should do something that you really love doing. And I kept working with people on the side and eventually came to the realization that I was going to need to take the leap full time if I really wanted to make this a business. And I can vividly remember watching the Grammys a few months ago, and Taylor Swift won her award. And as you can imagine, I pay attention to the speeches. And in her speech, she talked about thanking the audience for giving her the ability to do what she loves. And that was a little bit unique from what everybody else's speech was. And I thought, if she gets to do what she loves, why can't I? Someday I don't want to wake up being filled with regrets of what could have been. So about a month ago, I jumped into being a full-time public speaking coach, and I have loved helping my clients and watching them step into their power, craft that message to be memorable for their audience.
That's incredible. I love it. And I love hearing everyone's story and journey to hear how they got to where they are, because every entrepreneur is on a journey. And it looks different for everyone. And why I love to bring on other conscious entrepreneurs for you guys is to inspire you to not only get on the journey, stay on the journey, and thrive on the journey. And so you can hear how other people get to be where they are. And it is a big decision to go from employee to employer. And also, again, from being an employee in your business to moving into the CEO role, there's so many different levels. And they say only about 10% of the population is willing to do what it takes to be an entrepreneur, and that entrepreneurs look down the road and around the corner. They're the visionaries. And for those who like to know A plus B equals C, they're just looking down the road. But as entrepreneurs, there is no roadmap. You get to create something from nothing. And that's exactly what you're doing. So you got to take your zone of genius, what you love to do, what you feel is your calling, that you get to share your gift back, And now that's your business. And since you've been doing it already, why not do it full time? And jump in. And I'm super proud of you. Congratulations. It really does take courage and confidence, and it takes willingness. And you did it. And I'm super happy and grateful that you bet on you. And now you get to help other people bet on themselves too by putting themselves out there and being comfortable and confident to do so. That is really an incredible journey.
Thank you. Yes, it's been a fun ride and one that I have no regrets.
I love it. I love it. And that's the way we want to live, right? Regret free. I love it. So that was your story, and now you got some bonus tips in the story there about her getting on that entrepreneur journey, and now she's beginning to thrive in it, which I love. And let's dive into the tips. So, say someone does want to become a public speaker, or for all the entrepreneurs out there, they're ready to start being the face of the brand and put themselves out there in front of other people's ecosystems, because we know that when we create our social media content, it nurtures our current audience. And we always want to be bringing new people back into our audience. And by public speaking and putting yourself in front of other people's ecosystems, that's exactly what you get to do and build that brand awareness. And it's going to require you to bet on you, get comfortable being uncomfortable, and put yourself out there to start talking. And we want to help be easier for you, smoother, and maybe a little less uncomfortable. So that's exactly why we've got Melissa with her incredible zone of genius and tips here today. So tell us, how can we be better public speakers and be more confident in getting our message out there?
So one of the techniques that I like to work with clients on is helping, if you're going to have a message, you might as well make it memorable. So how do you stand in front of your audience and give a memorable message? It's all about engaging, leaving a lasting impression, and making an impact. And when I teach clients to deliver powerful speeches, it's not just about showing up as your authentic self. It's knowing how to connect to your audience in a way that they respond to and that they connect to. There's a moment that happens. It's actually when the first thing you say hooks your audience, captivates their imagination, and you have them for the whole journey. And one of those secrets, that's one of the secrets to turning your speech from mediocre to must listen to. Another technique that I like to tell my clients about is storytelling. Now, we've all heard somebody tell us a uninspired story that leaves us wondering, where is this going and how does this affect me? But the power of a well-crafted story to convey complex ideas stirs emotions, and that is unparalleled. So what makes it so powerful? Well, stories are important because we relate to each other through stories. You're going to talk to your significant other or your family at the end of the day around the dinner table, and you're going to ask each other, so how was your day? And you're going to launch into a story about your day. Psychologists tell us that our audience remembers stories 22 times better than facts and figures alone. 22 times. That's incredible. And when I first started teaching storytelling techniques to my clients, they'd come back to me after my speech and say, guess what? My colleague stopped me in the hall a week after I gave my speech and asked me about a story I told. A week after, he remembered my story. So, how do you make your speeches memorable? What's the game changing little technique that you can use that anyone can do that makes your speech come alive? This is a game changer. You might want to write this down. When you tell your story, you want to think about what you see externally, what you tell yourself internally, and what you feel internally. So you could say, for example, I hiked up a mountain on a random Thursday. It's not that interesting. Or you could say, I feel the hot sun on my face as I looked up at the mountain I was climbing. While everything around me looked peaceful, on the inside, I was anything but. I knew I was faced with a big career decision. Do I take the job of my dreams and uproot my whole family? Or do I stay with this mediocre job and continue to live near my extended family where they can help me out? Adding those elements of what you see externally and what you tell yourself and feel internally is a total game changer and instantly captivates your audience's imagination and takes them along the ride with you.
I love that. That adds context to the story. And there was a big difference between the two. The one I just like saw a mountain, but the one, it's like I saw the mountain through your eyes. That's what I
Mhm.
felt. It's like you put me in the movie and gave me a description so that I could feel it and be it and see it and touch it, and was so much more emotionally involved, and will remember it because you said sun beating on you and it was so hot today. And I'm going to associate that right away. Incredible. What a difference.
Yeah, it makes a huge difference. It's a big game changer. When you can capture your audience's imagination using those techniques, you can use that for any story you want to tell.
That's what you did. You got my imagination much more active with the description of the internal and the external, which put a picture in my mind and had my
Yes.
imagination going. Yeah, I love
But the
it.
trick is I didn't tell you all the colors of the leaves. I didn't tell you all the details. I only told you those three details, and those three details are the most important ones.
Beautiful. So let's tell everybody one more time in case they need to hear that. What are those three details?
Yeah, so that's what you see externally, and then internally, what you tell yourself and what you feel.
Love it. Love it. Amazing. So everyone's going to go home and rewrite what their stories are with those three key details to help captivate your listeners' imagination.
Yes.
I love it. I love it. So what about nerves and overwhelm?
Well, when it comes to nerves, your audience should know everyone is nervous. It shows that you care. But the difference between a seasoned speaker and an inexperienced speaker is how they see those nerves. I want to set the audience straight. For the record, the only way that your audience is going to know that you're nervous is if you look nervous or if you tell them that you're nervous. Here's the thing about giving a speech. We are not connected to your nerve endings, we as the audience. So we don't know what you're feeling and what emotions are going on inside. And so if you pretend to be cool, calm, and confident, we're going to assume that you are. And if you act confident, then the rest of your speech will follow suit. And so new speakers, that boogeyman in the brain gets in there and you start thinking things like, do I really have to give this speech? I don't want to do this. Am I qualified to do this? What if they laugh at me? But an experienced speaker thinks about that differently. They focus more on the audience than on themselves. And they're focusing on how can I give my message to this audience and convey it to them. And if you're speaking to a larger crowd, that might initially be intimidating, but one way to get rid of that intimidation is to find one person in the crowd, and you give your speech to that person and make it relatable to that person. And it helps take that, oh my goodness, there's all these eyes watching me, overwhelm out. One of the techniques that I've also found that helps with the nerves is to think about where those are coming from. And I work with my clients on getting to the root of that and then taking the power out of it. And so oftentimes it comes from something in childhood, even something that might seem unrelated. For example, it might be a choir concert that you had, and maybe a sibling said something mean to you. Maybe it was out of jealousy, maybe it was true, but that same feeling is what you now associate when you give your speech. I worked with a client recently, and this client had just gotten promoted, and as part of his promotion, he needed to give sales speeches. And every time he went to go give a sales speech, he was terribly nervous, and the audience could tell. And how are you supposed to sell something if you don't look confident in what you're selling? And through asking a series of questions, we realized that he, every year for Christmas, the whole extended family would get together and all the cousins would hang out and they would all do a roast where they would all make fun of each other.
I was going to say
And as
not like a chicken roast or a turkey roast, like a comedy roast.
Right,
I
right,
love
where they
it.
would make fun of each other. Yeah. Well, it's all fun and games until my client, who was one of the younger cousins, tried to keep up and inevitably couldn't because there was a significant age gap between him and the older cousins. And so now, every time he went up to give a speech, those same feelings of being inadequate and not being enough and not having the right things to say were coming up in his professional career when he was trying to advance. So, how do we take the power out now that we've identified the root? Well, I taught him some journaling exercises and visualization to really take the power out of that experience. And not only is he great at giving speeches now, he has climbed 2 levels up on the corporate ladder. And so, one of the exercises that I did with him, which I'm going to tell your audience because they're great, I don't tell everybody, is the 5 by 5 by 5 breathing exercise. And so this calms your parasympathetic nervous system. How does it work? You breathe in for the count of 5, you hold it for the count of 5, and you exhale for the count of 5. And you do that 5 times. When I initially tell clients about this, they're like, that's breathing. I do that every day, lots of times during the day. Is this the best you got? And I'm like, just try it. And they come back and say, holy smokes, that actually works. And so that's a wonderful technique that you can use to help with your nerves.
Yeah, and I absolutely love it. We actually used to use that as post-trauma response to help our clients, especially if they felt very anxious going out into the public. We would use the breath work to help relax the nervous system. And I love how you said, "Oh, I'm breathing all day, right?" But are we consciously breathing? And are we even breathing deep enough? And it's that pattern of doing it. And it's also consciously being aware of the breath. And it also really brings us into the now, right? Because we're thinking about the breathing, which keeps us out of anxiety of the future and depression of the past, and actually brings us into the power of now. So I love that you use breath work as a technique. There's so much neuroscience behind using breath work and your parasympathetic nervous system and your pineal gland and all the things that go along with it. And if there's anything that you guys took away from this entire talk today, she's got some more tips for you just on that, overcoming those nerves. But if there was one thing that you took, let it be that breath to help you come back into your body and out of the stories and those limiting beliefs that she was saying have you stuck in associating your current circumstances with past circumstances, and get out of the mind into the body and into the breath and into the now, because that's really where we can serve. And like you said in the beginning, making it about who we're serving and less about us. And that breath work is going to be one of the best tools to do so many of the things well, not just public speaking. I could do it before anything, before you make a request to somebody, or have a difficult conversation, or going for a run, whatever you want to use that for. But I love that. And coming back to your breath consciously at any time is a true gift for yourself to bring you into that now. So I love that. And you said there was one more thing you wanted to share to help people overcome their nerves and overwhelm.
Yeah. And so a couple of those things. One is visualization. So you'll find that famous athletes do this, like Michael Phelps. He's the most decorated Olympic swimmer. And a ton of famous athletes do it. But essentially, how it works is it tricks your brain into thinking you've already done something. And everybody knows the second time you've done something, the third time you've done something is so much easier than the first time. And so, how it works is you picture yourself walking up to the front of the room, picture yourself giving the first moments of your speech, going through your speech in detail, picturing the applause at the end, and then sitting back down. And your brain doesn't know the difference between you visualizing doing something and you actually doing something. I remember reading a story about how Michael Phelps got better as he would, before every meet and before he would go to bed at night, he would picture his flip turns and he would picture diving into the water. And so the more that you can get into your brain, the more that it tricks it in, the easier time you have going through it. And my last technique is one that I learned from a TED Talk Amy Cuddy did. She's a psychologist, and it's called a power stance. And so you stand up straight and tall and you put your hands on your hips, just like Wonder Woman or Superman, and you stand there for a few seconds, and it releases all the good emotions and helps you feel strong and confident and like you can conquer the world. And I firmly believe that your audience can.
Absolutely. And I just want to add to that, that body language is so important. Are you going to want to listen to somebody who's hiding in their own body, or are you going to want to listen to someone who's standing proudly? Not to even mention the physiological response and benefits it does for you. There's a whole TED talk on that. And I always pictured like I'm going to be before a meeting, like standing in front outside the door, and then they're going to roll out and I'll just be in my big power stance. So I love that. And guys, your body language is one of the key ways we communicate and people read you. And it's an NLP foundation. So we know body language is important. So stand in that power stance. And visualization, mental rehearsal, we know science has proven that it's equally as important, if not even more important than the actual practice, as long as we are, because what we practice becomes permanent, not necessarily perfect. So we always want to practice well too. So when you're visualizing, you would visualize exactly how you want it to go in the perfect way. And I would like to say that many moons ago, probably reaching a decade almost now, I decided I was going to be a public speaker. I was going to have a show. I didn't know what it looked like, but I had my vision board. I had my workflow maps of my big mission and my vision in life, and I visualized and I even practiced. I wouldn't probably wear a pencil skirt now. At the time, I dressed up as if I was giving a speech, and I practiced it in front of the mirror. I visualized it. And I still remember getting invited to UFT for my first talk on self-care for those who care for others, because we can't pour from an empty cup. And that all kind of came from that part first. So not only is it going to make you a better speaker, if this is something you desire to be and do and have, then visualize yourself doing it. Because as Melissa was saying, your body doesn't know the difference between real and imagined. And so you are doing mental rehearsal and strengthening your neurology and your confidence in the skill. So visualize what you desire, because it also attracts it to you, and also because that is your mental rehearsal, and your brain will begin to believe that as real. And when you go to do the thing, like you said, it'll be even easier because you've already done it 10 times up here. So I love that, finding that power stance, using your breath work, using visualization, focusing on the audience more than your feelings, and just knowing that being nervous is normal and we all have it. And there's people like Melissa who can help you get out of the nerves and overwhelm and into the mastering your message, so that you can build that brand awareness and master your storytelling, so that you can capture your audience's imagination, so that even a week later, they're still playing that story in their mind and thinking of you. So I love that. Now, I know you've got a free gift for everybody, so tell us about it.
I do, yes. So my free gift is an ebook, 7 ways to kick your speech anxiety to the curb. And I am offering that to your audience as well. And I also have a free 20-minute speech assessment and some availability for one-on-one coaching if your clients would like to clarify their message and help get the overwhelm taken out of speech writing, whether that's to investors or on a conventional stage or just to get more clients.
Yeah, I love it. And as I said, you want to put yourself in front of other people's ecosystems to bring more people back into your ecosystem, because then you can serve more and live out your purposes. And this is one of the best ways to do it. So you want to master that public speaking and your messaging, and reach out to Melissa, grab that free gift, connect with her. We'll put all her links here in the description for you guys. And I always love to finish off with a book recommendation, because I'm a bookworm and I love books. So what's your best book recommendation and why?
So one of my favorite books that I read not too long ago is Atomic Habits by James Clear.
So good.
Yes.
Yeah.
I one of my the favorite aspects of that book is when he talked about habit stacking. I mean, there's tons of things that are just golden gems in there, but I'm a big believer in efficiency. And if I'm going to incorporate something new into my day, like a new habit, I would like to make it stick. And so if you just tie that new habit to something you're already doing, like say, for example, if you wanted to start taking vitamins to be healthier, well, you always drink coffee in the morning, take your vitamins with your coffee. And so that habit stacking is a quick and efficient way to help incorporate new habits into your life.
I love that you brought that up because I call it chunking habits, and literally was talking about that with my first client today. We do something called the self-image script, which is auto-suggesting the new best version of you to your unconscious mind because your current self-image is your upper limit. And unless you change your unconscious mind, nothing changes. So we use auto-suggestion with the self-image script. And to find time to add all these new things that we're adding into the calendar with the already full schedule, I suggested chunking the habit with, if you're brushing your teeth or doing your hair and your makeup and you're in front of the mirror, just hit play. And one of the things I love about chunking habits is if you've made the decision beforehand, there's less talking yourself out of it and lack of keeping that promise to yourself because there's already a decision. When I do this, I do this. And then you can't be like, I think I'm going to. You're like, no, I said when I do this, I do this. So you go to the mirror and you hit play. And it is honestly one of the best to help with habit transformation. I actually love, love, love that book. Another book that's kind of similar, it's A Slight Edge. It's a little bit simpler. And Atomic Habits, those two are incredible. And yes, chunking your habits or stacking your habits really helps with that habit transformation. And we know that when we change our habits, we can change our life.
Yes, 100%.
I love it. So guys, if you are ready to increase your brand awareness, ignite it, and make that message irresistible, make sure you reach out to Melissa. The link is below. And I just want to thank you for your time and your energy and all that you've offered our audience today. We're so thankful, and may you guys go forward, increase your income and impact by getting your message out there. So thank you so much, Melissa.
Thank you. I so appreciated being on your show.
Absolutely. It's my honor, my honor. So remember, everybody, stay happy, healthy, wealthy, and what is the best that can happen? We'll see you on the next episode. Thank you and goodbye.
Thank you so much for tuning into the Own It Show today. Make sure to leave a review and subscribe. We want to thank you for your time and energy and extend the invite for you to join us in the Own It community on Facebook, an incubator for conscious entrepreneurs so that they can step into their greatness. We have tons of free trainings and resources for you, as well as a great opportunity to network with people leaving a positive impact on this world. Make sure to come back for next week's show. Have an incredible day. Remember, expect magic and miracles. Stay happy, healthy, and wealthy.